I know book clubs normally don't have a lot of people because reading a book 300 pages is hard work, but we shall go with whoever is with us as we encourage others. We shall have very many listeners, others would want to engage, and also we shall be having a silent majority, like all book clubs be. At ROLI, we believe in reading. We believe that reading speaks to us and takes us to places we may never reach. We interact with people we may never meet. We realize that we realize that we are not alone through other people's life experiences which we share. As we go through these sessions, remember our rules of engagement as we shared earlier on the pages. We believe that books can speak to us. We also encourage books that can spark debate, books that can change our lives, and at the ROLI Book Club, our meeting point is books. We shall be having poetry sessions once the lockdown is lifted, if at all they can allow us to be meeting. We shall also engage some poets to come and join us. We'd like to have them live and physical. Our sessions are going to be a reading session. Since this is a book club, we shall do some reading for 30 minutes. Rotary Suleiman will take us through the reading. We shall have reviewers, the volunteer reviewers, taking us for 1 hour. Then we shall have reactions, your views of the book. Then we shall later on have conclusions. We can hear from our chair, Hilda. If you're on, you can give us a brief about ROLI in around 2 minutes. Before Rotary Suleiman comes in, I'm the book club chair together with Rotary Suleiman on the other side. Thank you. Hilda, are you there?
Henry, did you mean Hamelinda?
Pardon?
Did you mean Hamelinda?
Okay, I was talking to Korean. Hamelinda, are you there? Can give us a bit about ROLI in 2 minutes.
I'm here. I'm here.
Hamelinda, our boss maybe she'll come in along the way. My boss, Suleiman, I hand over to you to take us through the reading session.
Hi, thank you very much. Hi guys, how's everyone doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so I have selected 2 chapters. I don't think I can do both of them, but I'll start with the first one. From the book Freshwater, chapter 6. Chapter 6 marks the birth of one of her. So Ada has these gods in her body. She's in between. She has the human form and the godly form. So one of the god's name is Asura, comes through, and it's after she undergoes a very traumatic event. Okay, let me start chapter 6. Of course I came. Why wouldn't I? Let me tell you. Ada meant every world to me, but I can't lie. This third birth of a thing was a shock. I had been there, just minding my own business as part of a shifting cloud. Then, the next thing I knew, I was condensing into the marble room of Ada's mind, with time moving slower for me than for her. The first thing I did was step forward so I could see through her eyes. There was a window in front of her face and one useless boy beside her. I was cold. I looked around the marble for Ada, and there she was, a shred in the corner, a gibbering baby. I didn't I didn't touch her. That wasn't my style. I've never been the comforting type. Instead, I sank my roots into her body, finding my grip on her capillaries and organs. I already knew that Ada was mine to move and take and save. I stood her body up. The boy was crying and angry, still sitting on the floor. Go then, he said, sulking. Go. I made Ada pick up his jacket, and then she and I walked outside. Once we were away from him, I realized her and focused on the rush of being here. I felt drunk and full of life. It flooded the pockets of my cheeks. I was me. I had a self. I spun in the marble, giddy and ecstatic at existence, before remembering the reason I had arrived. I swung around to check on Ada. She was tumbling in front of Hodge's hall, dialing the phone number of one of her friends, an older Nigerian girl called Itohan, who lived in Georgia. I listened because, honestly, it was just fascinating to have ears, to hear how Ada's voice reverberated inside her skull. She was sobbing as she told Itohan what happened, or at least what she could remember of what happened. I didn't interfere until Itohan told Ada to pray that their God would forgive her, that she didn't make sense to me. Sorry, that didn't even make sense to me. Forgive her for what? I slid in gently and made Ada end the call. I could already see she was clearly better off with just me. Let me skip a little bit. The part in this chapter which was really interesting was, well, from here. It's the following page. He was angry that Ada had disappeared and furious when he saw the crusted scratches on her forearm. He took her back to his room, and the wounds on her arms didn't stop him. The memory of her sitting in the sheets and screaming did not stop him. No, the boy fucked her body again that day and every day afterward, over and over. He would look into her eyes and swear in time with his thrust as he fucked her, never bothering with a condom, always coming inside her. I fucking love you. You have no idea how much I fucking love you. Except Ada wasn't there anymore. At all. At all. She wasn't even a small thing curled up in the corner of her marble. There was only me. I expanded against the walls, filling it up and blocking her out. She might as well have been dead. I was powerful enough to not touch me. I could definitely not touch her. No matter how hard he pushed into her body, he could definitely never touch her. What's okay? Someone texted. Sorry. I was here. I was everything. I was everywhere. And so I smiled at him, using only Ada's mouth and teeth. You love this, I corrected. You love fucking me. He got angry again. The boy was so predictable, so easy to provoke. Human beings are useless like that. I liked making him angry. Sha, I would hold him with Ada's arms and smile in the dark while he cried after his nightmare. It was good that he lived with pain. Ada was never there when there was a bed. If I made sure of anything in my short life then, I made sure of that. When she had to go and get a pregnancy test, the first of many, Ada called a taxi from the clinic and took it back to the campus. The driver was a biker. She could tell because he had a Harley Davidson sticker everywhere. They reminded me of the other taxi, the one Ada's mother took in another lifetime when we were both born. I was fond of stickers in taxis, so I stayed with Ada's mouth. I love motorcycles. motorcycles. You should give me a call, the driver replied. I'll take you out on my bike one day. He gave Ada his card. The boy lost his temper when he found out and ripped the card into pieces. A few days later, he found Ada out back behind the dorm, weighing a broadsword with both hands, looking at knives that one of her collector friends had brought from over in his truck. The boy got angry and banned Ada from ever playing with blades again. Ada looked at him and I stared through her eyes and kept her silent. She and I watched his anger bounce around and we did nothing, said nothing. What was there to say? It was more interesting to watch his fury grow at the dullness in Ada's eyes, the smooth emptiness of her face. It is not easy to look at me. I know this very well. When Ada first met the boy, he told her this story about how much he loved his mother, how he and his brother went and drove nails through the hands of a man who threw stones at her in Denmark. I remembered it when I arrived. The images of the man being held against the ground, his palms forced open, the boy's baring teeth, the nails tearing through flesh and ligaments with metal purpose. The man's scream, the blood bursting. It was true, and me, I like true things. Yet, when Ada started to think that she loved the boy, I allowed it. It would make things easier for her. She was not like me. She was not strong. One time, the boy was leaving for a volleyball tournament, and Ada held her hand to give to his face as they say goodbye. I watched through her eyes as his smile went away. Stop it, he told her. My mother looks at me like that. She must have been in front of me at that time. I never looked at him with anything that could have been contained in his mother's face. The boy made Ada a gibbering thing in a corner. This is the truth, but he will never get her again. I had arrived, fresh flesh from flesh, true blood from true blood. I was the wildness under the skin into a weapon, the weapon over the flesh. I was here, and no one would ever touch her again. When the May term ended, Ada left her school and that little rundown town in the pretty mountains and flew to Georgia to stay with Itohan. Soren flew to Denmark, but he took her teddy bear, Hershey, with him. If you didn't know him, you could call that cute, but he was a thief. He was such a thief. You know, he stole and stole and stole. Fucking bastard. In Georgia, Itohan took Ada to a hair salon. Ada sat in one of the raised chairs and stared at her reflection. All that heavy hair hanging from her scalp. Cut it off, she said. The stylists, even the other clients, were appalled. There were black women who paid and took money to get and give long hair, thick hair, straight hair, and she had it pouring from her head like an afterthought. All that pretty hair? They asked, horrified. You sure? Sure. Me. I remembered when Ada had been born, with wet hair that was black as jet and slick as a fish. The hair had now the hair she had now was dead, deader than hair usually is. Besides, I had arrived and something had to mark that, so cutting her hair felt correct. Make the first cut then, the stylist said. She didn't believe Ada would do it, but she didn't know her and she certainly did not know us. Ada took the scissors from her, took a piece of her hair from right above her forehead, pulled it down before her eyes and snipped near the roots. The woman in the room gasped, staring in shock. I grinned, Shebi. I told you the girl belonged to me now. Ada dropped the hair into her lap on the smock they had put around her neck. Can you cut the rest, please? She asked. The stylist shook her head and took the scissors from her. When she finished, Ada asked for her eyebrows to be waxed, and then she walked out of the salon looking more like me. She was about to turn 19. Back at Itoan's apartment, she called another boy in Virginia, the brother of a friend who arrived from Togo the semester before. with a starched white shirt collar that made Ada think of home. He and Ada had been flirting for hours each day, ever since the summer started. There were a few days when he wouldn't take her calls after she told him about Soren, that she had a boyfriend. I grimaced at when she said that, but I had promised to let her hold her lies if they would keep her insane. After a while, their brother called her and said it didn't matter. Somehow, that made it easier. Ada called Soren and told him she was breaking up with him. I stood heavy in her bones when she did it. The boy was so boring in his sobbing anger. I had her hung up on him. Ada never got her teddy bear back. I told you he was a thief. After Georgia, the Ada went to see Sachi, who was softer in the body now. The human mother had moved to America the year before. She stopped in Nigeria first to collect annually. Then they went to America and rented a small apartment in a town in the southwest. Sachi had wanted Saul to come because he could get his green card, but old fractures in London meant he wouldn't be able to practice medicine in America. So the man refused. What am I going to do? What am I going there to do? To go and sell popcorn? He said. And what's wrong with that? Sachi replied. She didn't believe in pride when it came to Ada and the others, but Saul was the way he had always been. So Sachi and Anuli moved without him. The two of them lived in the one-bedroom space, and Anuli slept on a futon in a small room with no door next to the kitchenette. When Ada came to visit, she slept on the sofa in the living room. One morning, she woke up and Sachi was standing in the kitchenette looking at her. She was holding a cup of coffee, and Ada knew it would be black, just like she knew all of Sachi's glasses of Coke would be laced with Bacardi. Many things were always the same. When you sleep, Sachi said, as if it was nothing, you look exactly how you did as a child. Exactly. Ada rubbed her eyes, and when she opened them again, Sachi had walked out of the room and she was alone. They had argued about Ada's haircut when she first got there, and Sachi had left Bible verses in the bathroom on post-it notes about how a woman's hair was her crown. I had Ada ignore the notes. She was still getting used to moving with me. I was heavy and I made her different. Or maybe he had made her different. But either way, nothing was the same. Sachi watched her like she always had ever since Ada was a fat baby with a protective potu on her head. You used to smile, Sachi said. You were such a happy child. Why are you not eating? This was actually true, but the not eating was just an experiment I was doing to see how close to the bone I could get down Ada to. She had started restricting herself before I showed up, for some human reason, probably trying to control her body since she couldn't control her mind. It's not important. The point is, once I was there, I took her to new weightless place, one 118 pounds. She ran every day for an hour. I had her eat only salads. Hunger grabbed her from inside. Intimately, it felt like it had a purpose, like it was doing something. Ada lifted dumbbells and continued running. One day, just like that, she dropped down to 114 pounds of human flesh. Let me tell you, I've never almost flown that well since. Ada's shoulders became knives in her back, and her legs looked even longer than when she took ballet in her first semester, and the instructor told her she needed extra large tights because her legs were that long. But yes, she was not eating. Wasn't important anymore. What happened to her body? Not since I was there. I appreciated it, of course. Embodiment was luxurious, at least at first. I felt a new power, a flood of greatness that, yes, Ada will regret later. Valid, but for now, it was good, rich. It was meant I was an I, like and like I wasn't going back to the larger we. How can? No, I was free. I had elevated, transcended, in fact, risen like steam until it was me standing in the fields of Ada's body. She named me this name, Asugara, complete with that gritty slide of the throat halfway through. I hope it scrapes your mouth, bloody to say it. When you say something, it comes to existence. Did you know that? There is strength there, bone white powder injected in a rush like a trembling drug. Wait, is this how humans feel? To know that you're separate and special, to be individual and distinct? It's amazing, but I had to remind myself that I wasn't human or flesh. I was just a self, a little beast, if you'd like, locked inside Ada. Still, it was nice to be able to move her body and feel things. When I came in front, I moved like those masquerades from her childhood, with meat layered in front of my spirit face. All I'm saying is, it was good to walk in the world. I never forgot Virginia or the boy Soren and the place and person who midwifed me there. I did not forget that Ada was Allah's child. It would be too careless to forget something like that. If you're a python's child, then you are also a python. Simple. There should be there should have been a regular molting that came with that, but I was not regular. I wasn't allowed some gentle and slow shrugging off of skin. No, my own was to tear it away as soon as I came through, splitting it into pieces that were never found, coming out damp with blood. This is what happened when you act as if a human can hold God matter without it curdling. Ada loved me.
Ada loved me.
Cha.
Cha.
She loved me because
She
I
loved me
hated that
because
boy.
I hated that boy.
Okay. Someone's mic is on.
Someone's mic is on, I think.
Just continue.
Just continue.
She loved me because I
She loved
hated
me
that boy.
because I hated
She
that
loved
boy.
me
She loved
because
me
I was
because
reckless.
I was reckless.
Had no conscience,
Had no
no
conscience,
sympathy,
no sympathy,
no pity.
no
She
pity.
loved me because I was
Loved me
strong
because
and
I
I
was
held her
strong
together.
and I held her together.
I loved her because
I
I
loved her
had known
because
her since I
me.
was
I
nothing,
had known her since
since
I
I
was
was
nothing.
everything.
Since I
Since
was
that's
everything. Since that's
sorry, there's a sound
sorry,
echoing.
there's a sound echoing.
There's an echo. There's an echo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, you can go on. Sorry,
Yeah,
you can
there's
go
an
on.
echo.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
an
I
echo.
think if
Yeah, I think if
using
using head
If what?
are you
if what?
using headsets?
Are you using headsets?
Yeah.
If you are using headsets, then
Yeah.
that's
If
the
you are
issue.
using headsets, then that's the issue.
Hello?
Hello?
It's gone.
It's gone.
I'm almost
I'm almost
I loved her because I watched her grow up, because she gave offerings since I started awakening, feeding me from the crook of her arm and the skin of her thighs. Let me tell you now, I loved her because in the moment of her devastation, the moment she lost her mind, that girl reached for me so hard that she went completely mad. And I loved her because when I flooded through, she spread herself open and took me in without hesitation, bawling and broken. She absorbed me fiercely all the way. She denied me nothing. I loved her because she gave me a name. Okay, so uh, that was the chapter I chose, chapter 6. I have like 2 minutes left, but I chose it because
Sorry,
it's very deep. Yeah.
we shall add you some more 10 minutes. because one reviewer couldn't make it.
Okay, I'm already done with it. It's okay. Or should I do another one? But I think to take a long time.
You can do it in the 10 minutes. When the 10 minutes are done, then you can stop wherever you will be.
Okay, let me. My laptop just went off charge.
As we wait for Sule, our book reviewers today, we have Gutavindi Dorin from the Club of MOOC. We have Andrew Sadala from the Club of St. Joseph University. We have Douglas Rangisa from the Kairuki. We have Kazora Se from the Wandigea and Eunice University. Those are our volunteer reviewers for today. Sule, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Which chapter are we reading next?
15, because it's short. It's just a poem.
Yeah, you can do the poem.
Yeah.
You can do the poem, it's okay.
Okay. So we're in chapter 15. Ada. My mother does not sleep at night. She worries. This is the way of things. When cold gods give you a child, I sleep like swollen opium. She worries. This is the way of things. I went mad so young, you see, sleeping like swollen opium, screaming on my better days. I went mad too young, you see. They couldn't wait to ride me. I only scream on my better days, crippled in meat and hot skin. They couldn't wait to ride me, to drink from my terrible depths, crippled in meat and hot skin. I tried to die from this body. I drank from my terrible depths. My mother cannot keep me safe. I tried to fly from this body. Now clawed shadows followed her. They slave her at the door. They slave her at the foot of her bed. When cold gods give you their child, make sure you keep her alive. My mother does not sleep at night. So that's chapter 15.
Sule, what came to your mind when you read chapter 15? What do you think the writer was talking about in chapter 15?
Well, first of all, it speaks about how Ada has always, like, she would say, I went mad so young. And as you go through the earlier chapters, you could tell that she had a really troubled childhood with her parents fighting, and she had issues with self-harm while growing up all the way. And also, we still are referring to the gods within her as they've always been there, and they have been a source of madness. And there's also the part of how her mother, the Allah, would not let her die yet, because through the book there is an attempted suicide, and she wouldn't die because her mother will only let her die. How should I put this? The only way she can die is if her mother, Allah, allows her to die. So I guess that's my take from this poem. but our main character has been through a lot throughout the whole book. Hello, Henry? I guess we can proceed with the reviews. I think Henry doesn't know he's muted.
He says we should invite the first reviewer to give the remarks. I think that is he says it's Gutabinji Doreen. Gutabinji, yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Doreen Gutabinji, and I'm from the Rotary Club of Makerere University, which is not in District 9214. I'm a visitor, an international visitor from District 9213. I have 15 minutes. That means I basically have up to 5:50 to speak. So I'm going to be the first reviewer, and I'm going to talk about different parts of the book and how I get it, and generally the overview of the book. Yeah. So get into the actual book review. I think they'll say a word or two about her. Sorry, not her, them. The author of the book is the author of the book, a Nigerian person who basically writes about their struggle, finding themselves, in the world, finding themselves from childhood up to, of course, the stage they're at, and finding their gender and sexuality. They basically go through a struggle of being female at some point, and then because they're born female, yes, they're born in a woman body, and then at some point feeling male, and then female again, and to up to when they change, and they go through all the gender transitions and all of those things, to eventually how they identify as non-binary. That is just about the author, yeah. Then okay, I'm still kind of stuck in the gender binary of calling the author she, but we realize in the book there's a shift from a she to the different demons, where she finds herself as a she and a he, and again to where they find a balance between the two. Yeah. So we realize that the book is basically about Ada. Yeah. I don't know if it's pronounced as Ada or Ada, but I'll say Ada, who is born as an answered prayer by their father, her father, that is Saul, a Nigerian man. He is an Igbo who stays in London and studies, and then comes back to Nigeria, to Umuahia, and stays with his Malaysian wife, Sachi, who later leaves and goes to the UK and then Saudi Arabia and the UK again to work. And so doesn't get a chance to exactly raise their child. So Ada is an answered prayer from God. But instead of it being the God, maybe we could say the white people God that Saul prays to, Ada is an answer from a Nigerian God, Allah, whose affiliations and roots and all of that Saul has fast forgotten in his life. So born as an Ogbanj, Ogbanje, something like that. It is literally translated as children who come and go. An Ogbanj is like a misfortune, a god. And we realize that Ada in their self-realization is not human within themselves. Yeah, they're not exactly human, and yet again they struggle with being a god, a child of Allah. So we see that there's 3 births. That is the first one, where she is actually born as Sachi's daughter in a hospital, but this birth is not completed because Asugara later describes this as an incomplete birth, an unusual birth. And there's a second birth that happens after the accident with Anuli. Anuli is Ada's cousin who had come to visit, and so on one of their trips to the shop, she was hit by a car and had a lot of bleeding. That was the second awakening. And then finally, the third birth was after the sexual assault of Ada by her boyfriend, her American boyfriend. And here, this is when the spirits within her officially come out and are identified independently. Yeah, they are identified. The Ogbanj identify and divide themselves independently into 2 major characters. That is into 2 major characters. That is Asugara and Saint Vincent. She actually names them. So Asugara, we realize, is Asugara is female. Asugara is a female spirit, yes, who is Asugara is female, who is the dominant one, and feeds off sex, lust, and sensuality. So she's basically the dangerous one. We see all these things that Ada does, as that Asugara does in the body of Ada, being promiscuous, having sex with so many men, including Iwan, who Ada loved very much, had married at some point, but later broke up with. But then again, there is another spirit within her, and this spirit is male. She names him Saint Vincent. This one is gentle, soft, and seeks out, of course, to love women. That is how Ada finds herself now being sexually and romantically attracted to fellow girls. And the first attempt happens when she's at the university cafeteria and tries to approach one of these girls. I think that was in chapter 11. She tries to, go and reach out to one of these girls in the cafeteria at the university, who rejects her, and she feels she feels taken aback. However, we realize that Ada is generally stuck within herself because of the different personalities within her and the different spirits that rule her body. We also realize that in the struggle to find herself, Ada goes through different things and reacts differently to each one of them. First of all, she is sexually assaulted as a child by the neighbor's son. And that is how actually the spirits come in to protect her, because they feel like she is born by a human Sachi and is in a human body of their dad, and she is supposed to be protected by her mother Sachi, who fails to do that because obviously she's in the grooming, and realize that also Saul is not exactly a present, parent, and so this child is kind of neglected obviously to their siblings and all of that. So in the process they are sexually abused as a child, and to kind of come back from this, they resort to different behavior. It is self-harm. She starts to cut her wrists and herself, and then she also starts to later the cutting of the wrists basically feels like a sacrifice. It's like she has an insatiable urge that she cannot stop. So to be able to fit in and to feel at ease, she has to shed some of her blood, which are the spirits within her, the brothers, sisters, and we, before they officially identify themselves, find as a thing they used to quench their thirst and help her with her to live the world bearably. So she goes through these habits, and then we also realize that at 12 years, 11 to 12 years, she starts to feel the confusion, as she feels like she does not fit in the female body. So when she finally starts to, to, let me call it flowering, like women do, to grow breasts and to bleed, of course, to feel like to grow all these reproductory and reproductory organs and development, she basically starts to kind of run away from it. That is when she starts to wear her father's clothes, the big shirts and the shorts that she wears. So we realize that even when she travels and goes to the US, she still continues to struggle with this through her university life. And so she finds herself in the hands of her boyfriend, Soren, who sexually harasses her. And that is when Asugara finally comes and comes in strong to protect her. Yes, please.
Suleiman is telling me that you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, they said 15, and I started at.
Okay, you have 15 minutes.
I had 15 minutes, and so I have 4 minutes to go.
You can go on, don't worry.
Okay, thank you. So we realized that in her struggle, she first of all feels like she has mental health problems, and in so doing, she tries to get help. But we realize that also, again, Asugara tries to stop her from getting this help. She always does these things, the self-harm and all of that she does, especially when she cuts her wrists and eventually gets all those tattoos on her body. So she realizes, she starts to feel like there's something wrong with her, and she seeks out medical help, especially because she's in a world that is aware of such things, and obviously not in the way that she's affected in different ways. And especially, and also because she's born in a medical family, everyone advises that she tries to get medical help. Her mother thinks she is unstable generally. So obviously she's not unstable. She just has different, different personalities within her, different spirits, and she's not of this world. So we also realize that the other spirits, the brothers, sisters who come to visit her, as Asugara, of course, come in to ask her to come back. I think this is when she develops the suicidal thoughts. So with the help of Asugara, she tries to commit suicide. But then again, because she's a daughter of Allah, like they had explained earlier the person before me read, she is a daughter, she is a child of she's a child of Allah. That means that she cannot decide when it is her time to die. Obviously, the brothers, sisters, and other spirits keep coming to visit her and tell her, you know what, you need to come back. So Ada, as an independent person, does not really understand what this means, but the spirits within her understand it. So that's when she starts to have a fluctuation in her sexuality. She has the gender transition, where it's like almost a double mastectomy, but not exactly that. They reduce her breasts, so that she starts to look more masculine. But then we also realize that even though she starts to look more masculine, she retorts at some points that she can't wait to wear dresses. That basically means that she does not want to, she's not exactly feminine, but again, she's not exactly masculine. She's just in between there. So we realize that freshwater is basically not about one giving into their demons, like we see Ada goes through all of these things, but it is about living with them, finding a balance within them, and finding a home and a liminal space between the genders, between life and death, between God and human, and finding a way to play and live within them. That is a review I got from somewhere. So realize that she also struggles with her relationship. Of course, when she realizes that she maybe has mental problems, she tries to reach out to, to Jesus, to God. That is the person they refer as Yeshua. And then there's a conflict between them, Yeshua, and a conflict between these other ghosts, the Asugaras and Saint Vincent. But then realize that also Yeshua goes is a positive, a positive voice who is into love, being kind, and all of these things. Yet we see that Asugara is an insatiable, lustful, spirit that drives her to do, things. But then realize that in the end, with the help of her friend, she has a Puerto Rican friend, I've forgotten the name, who sees her personalities and just doesn't see her as a dad, but sees them as a spiritual person. And then so they advise her to go back to Nigeria and kind of find her roots and see what happens. And then is also another person that sees through her. I'm about to finish, it's time up. Another person that sees through her is her painter lover, who says that he sees her, like one time when he sees that she can struggle between being herself as Ada and then as being a spirit. And so one time when she had one of the concussions, the positions, he kept calling on to her and telling her, please stay with me, because he understands. And then he also advises her to go and find out her roots and, seek out and see what it is about her. And that is how she goes to Nigeria. And then she also finds an elder, a historian, who tells her about her roots and all of those things, and tells her to keep finding herself. And that is where she finds acceptance in the end. Sorry. I'm finishing. Yes, please.
In conclusion,
I'm done.
do you have a connection? Where do you connect with the book? At what point do you connect with the book?
Where do I connect with the book? I realize that, especially as African people, we've abandoned our roots. You understand? We've obviously because of the colonialism and all these movements and all the changes and all those things, people don't actually know their roots and where they come from. We see that at the beginning of the book, Saul prays for a child, and the prayer is answered by a native god, and he thinks it's answered by God, you see. So the child has this struggle from when the snake, Allah comes in the form of a snake to visit her and all of those things when she was 3. So she struggles and she does not know what it is exactly, but it only settles down when she goes back to Nigeria and finds out what it is about her, from when she stops seeking all the medical help and all those things. And then she comes and says, my mother draws closer now. I can see a red road opening before me. The forest is green on either side of it, and the sky is blue above it. The sun is hot on the back of my neck. The river is full of my scales. With each step, I am less afraid. I am the brother sister who remained. I am a villager full of faces and a compound of bones, translucent thousands, which Why should I be afraid? I am the source of the spring. All fresh water comes out of my mouth. So realize that maybe sometimes we may go through things and wonder why certain things are happening, but we don't understand that we need to go back to our roots. Yeah. We need to go back to our roots and find out what exactly happened, what it is about our lives beyond, running away and all of that. Especially like it happens with her. She finally gets her final answers and she finds comfort when she goes back and finds out her roots and how to deal with all of it. She realizes that she's not exactly a person of this world, but then again, she's not exactly a god, and also finds a balance between being male and female, just in between there, and finds ways of how she can float through it. Yeah.
Thank you, Doreen. Really read the book. I'll be coming back to you.
Okay.
Let us have our second reviewer, if he's online, Andrew Sadala. Andrew, are you on?
Yes, I can hear you.
Over to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Sadala from Rotaract Club of St. Joseph. And now, from my general point of view, I tried to pick up some of the things from different points from the book. And now here I've tried to compile it with a presentation, a short presentation just of 4 pages, but it's a general review based on the book. And I think my fellow volunteer has tried to explain much, a bit in details on the book. That's good. Now on my side, I'll try to go through my presentation because I've already sorted each and everything, which is I'm about to speak. Now, starting with the book itself, we say that it tries to... Yes, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Sadala, you're breaking.
Yes, now can you hear me?
I think he's clear. Maybe you have a connection issue.
Okay, so you can hear me clearly. Hello?
Yes, we can. Proceed.
Okay, thank you. Now, with the book itself, I mean, it tries to explore the experience of having the fractured self. As you can see that we normally say that there is one among the says that always power comes with responsibilities. Now, when we come to the case of Ada, we come to find that she has 2 spirits within herself. Now, that's where the problem begins. Now, it's the book now tries to center around the young Nigeria woman who is Ada, now who developed the separate spirits, separate selves within her as a result of being born with, with 1 foot on the other side. Now that we can imagine that we have seen that Ada, he is the God answered. Her birth is the answer from God. That means her parents tried to pray from God. I don't know what kind of God, but it is God answered. Now, we say that unsettling, heart-wrenching, dark and powerful. Now, with the book, it's a sharp evocation of a rare way of experiencing the world. Now, one that illuminates how we all construct our identities. Now, Ada life begins in the south of Nigeria as a troubled baby with a source of deep concern to her family. Her parents, Saul and Sachi, successfully prayed her into existence. That's good that her parents prayed for her. Now, prayed for her existence, which means they prayed before, expecting to have the baby. So they have to consult the superior, or rather the supreme. Now, but as she grows into a volatile and splintered child, it becomes clear that something went terribly out or terribly wrong. Now, when Ada comes of age and moves to America for the college, the groups of selves within her grows into power and agency. Now, from the very beginning, we saw that Ada once met the snake. Now, as she went to the college to America, that's where then the 2 spirits begin to come into existence and begin to show their power. Now, a traumatic assault led to the crystallization of her alternate selves, Asugara and Saint Vincent, the 2 spirits. As Ada fades into the background of her own mind, these two selves, the two selves, now you will find that comes into control. The two selves were different sides, as we have tried to see through the book, that one side you might find it might be protective and the other one hedonistic. Now, other life spirals in a dark and dangerous direction. Now, Ada has always been unusual as an infant from Nigeria. Now, and as the result of her parents' prayer, Ada becomes a troubled child prone to violent fits of anger and grief. But Ada turns out more than just volatile. Born with the one foot, as I've said earlier, she developed these two separate selves. Now, what we can see here from the book is that we normally face troubles, but now while facing the troubles, it actually depends on how we react toward the troubles. Now, with Ada, that was different because she had two spirits. The first one on the good side, the other one on the bad side. But on my general point of view, all the two spirits were on, they were trying to pull on their way. This Saint Vincent and the other one, this name, come on. The other one, anyway, Asugara, yes, Asugara. So Asugara and Saint Vincent, yeah, Asugara, thank you. Asugara and Saint Vincent were trying to compete one another. Each one, yes.
Sadara.
Yes, I can hear you.
Which one is the bad spirit and which one is the good one?
Okay, that's very good. Now, to me, as you can see from the names,
and how do you differentiate that this one is good, this is bad?
Okay, I'm coming to that point. I've said that the two spirits, if you consider their names, the one is Saint, the other one is Asugara, who actually tries to throw Ada into the evil deeds. But now, comes to reality, all the two spirits, we come to conclude them that they are on the bad side, on the sense that they all tries to pull towards their betterment, or rather towards the positive, that towards the desire, or what is that? How can we say that? Maybe each one was trying to pull on its side in the general point of view. The two spirits, based on the names, you can say that there is one which was good and the other one which was bad. But now when you come through the book, it's when then you come to find that all the two were almost the same. That is, it's like two sides of the coin. You may find that one side there is head and the other one there is tail. But in general, it's a coin. The same applies to Ada. The two spirits were evil, but on different side. The one side was based on the revenge, based on what happens to Ada, and the other side was trying to put Ada on the other side, which we have seen that she was attracted towards her fellow women and whatever, all those stuffs. But now, from me, all I can say from this book is that regardless of what is within our minds, or rather within our hearts, what we have to do actually, based on our reality, is trying to choose the best among the many options which are within our minds. Now, that is what troubled Ada so much, to the extent that she tried to do various dangerous activities which actually endangered her life. So that's all I can say about the book, because if I try to go in detail, it will take time. But now on my side, I'm done with that general review. Thank you.
Sadara, before you go.
Yes.
Have you ever chucked a girl?
Yes.
Have you ever chucked a girl?
Chucked a girl? What do you mean?
Have you ever run away from a girl that you love?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think it was the brother sisters that took you away the same way you were left Ada after the wedding?
Pardon?
At what point do you think it's the voice of God and this is the voice of the brother sisters when you're making a decision?
No, I'm not getting your question. Maybe if you can put it in a straight way, because I'm a bit contradicted with the points from your question. Hello?
Sadara.
Yes, I can hear
Sadara.
you.
In the end,
yes.
we see you are leaving Ada after the wedding.
Uh-huh.
So when you left your girl, the one that you left, when you differentiate that now this is the voice of God or this is the voice of the brother sister?
Actually, it's very difficult in that situation because as we learn from various lecturers and from from our parents and our elders, that we normally receive various kind of thoughts from maybe from God or rather from influence from brothers and sisters and whatever the relatives. Actually, it's difficult to differentiate between the two because after all, there should be the self to decide among the godly side or rather from the influence from the relatives or other people who surrounds us. I'm not so sure if I've answered your question well.
There is no right or wrong answer when you're doing reviews.
Hello.
Yes, Andrew.
Yes.
There is no right or wrong answer when you're doing reviews.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong answer when you're doing reviews.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
But now, yeah, okay.
Thank you so much for the review.
Yeah.
Is the Gracious on?
Yes, I am.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. The previous reviewers have spoken basically everything, but then again, I will not be repeating what they said. I will just explain this book in three aspects. A moment, please. So I'll be describing this novel into three parts. So we'll have the mental health, the spiritual beliefs, and then the writer herself. So the author speaks about being born within a living. So this being is born and lives in a younger child, then a girl child. Then this particular child is born of very strict parents, a very caring mother, and an absent father. So this causes the mother to move away. And it causes this girl to drift from the family. So she's depressed at one point. She becomes violent with fits of anger and grief because then the mother is not around. Later, it appears that she does not believe in herself, so then she starts cutting herself. She basically has suicidal thoughts. Then Ada could be a possible candidate of a very particular mental illness. She could be bipolar. She has hypersexuality. She has all these mood swings. She's happy. She's depressed. She moves between that. And then later she got married, and then she felt she doesn't belong. She first becomes a bisexual. Then when she couldn't make love to her husband while sober, it kind of comes as a PTSD. It's like a post-traumatic stress because again, she was raped. It is later told to us that this girl was raped. So we are dealing with a teenager with a woman, a lady with multiple personality disorders, and who felt her body wasn't hers. So she could be transgender or anything. Then later, she just feels like she was born a woman, but she's not a woman. She's a woman. She has a woman's body, but then she's not a woman. So that is on the mental health So I would describe her as having bipolar. So for those who don't understand what bipolar is simply, you have two poles. We have the North and the South Pole. But then again, you have periods of massive depression, and then you have extreme elation, mania, so much excitement. And then these people are subjected to hypersexuality. So it could explain, if we take out the factor of spiritual beliefs and the Obanje, it would explain why Ada was having so many sexual encounters, so many men around her. Then there were times that it was described in the novel, she would appear like a slut. And then there are times that she would just be normal. So this would highly explain on her mental issues. And then when we move to spiritual beliefs, from the internet searches, an Obanje is believed to be something that is actually natural in the Igbo community in Nigeria. It literally means a child who comes and goes. And for those of you that have read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, you would have seen that Okonkwo had a daughter, Emezi, I think. Her name was Emezi. This child is explained as a cause of misery. She was born out of misery, caused the parents misery. She was like a source
Leo,
of...
are you there?
Yes? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Okay. So when you read Things Fall Apart in chapter 9 to 11, so you would see how they describe Emezi. So then again, if you go further into it, you realize that Emezi was also an Obanje. So she was this child, this spirit. It's a wicked child who just continuously re-enters a mother's womb, and then they die again and again, causing the parents grief. Or if not, there could be a continuous cycle of problems in the family. And again, there are so many people that believe in these spirits. In our current modern world, people don't actually have so many spiritual beliefs, but then Nigeria is one of those African countries that has been holding so much to their traditional beliefs and their natural gods, the gods of the river, the gods of so many stuff. We see that in movies, but then again, I have seen so many references of Nigerian women and men describing themselves as Obanje. So you could have so many of them that I can't remember their names. There was a boy and a woman. And then we also see that Beyonce, this amazing singer, we all know Beyonce. So Beyonce dressed like the Ocean River goddess in a 2017 Grammy Awards. She was wearing this gold stuff. It was heightened and everything. And also, she dedicated her two younger children, that is Rumi and the other twin, I do not know the name, to these Yoruba goddesses, Osun and Yemoja. So it's like, it's something that runs in this world, but then people just don't adhere to it, but the few that do want to have an impact into this world. Then again, I will come to speak of this book concerning the writer. This book is mostly, if you read this book and then you go read about the writer, you realize that there is so many stuff that are just so similar. And so I had to go read articles that she spoke with in her interviews. And then she describes herself as an Obanje too. And all these tattoos that Ada got after having all those scars and markings on her left arm due to cutting herself while growing up. And then she had a tattoo there that applies to the writer. And when she was interviewed, she said that a lot of things in her novel, Freshwater, was her personal experience. She wrote that for the people that just didn't know or didn't have anybody who could listen and believe them. So she wrote it for people like her. She gave a personal experience. And also she has mastectomy. She has removed both her breasts. this writer. And also, on the astrological point of view, this writer is a Gemini. Gemini is the third zodiac sign, and it's described as a twin. So it's two in one. You have two people in one. In this novel, we have Ada, who later describes to us two spirits inside her, Asugara and Saint Vincent. Saint Vincent is the good one. So I think that's why they have the saint before Vincent. It's the good one, the reasonable one, the kind one. Then we have Asugara, who is the seductress, the evil and the good. So if we speak about a Gemini, this would explain why she decided to use this reflection in the novel. A Gemini is a twin. You have two people into one body. And this says a lot about her character. She would be here 1 minute, and the next minute she wouldn't be there. So that would go either way. And there were reasons, there are things that explain to us why this writer chose to describe Ada in that sense. And I chose to take that and describe it in terms of this astrology sign I just said, a Gemini. Ada was not a very good listener. And that is something that the Geminis have in common. I wouldn't say it's 100% to all of them, but then they do have that. Also, they are two-faced. One moment, they are the sweet type, and then the next, they're very harsh. You could remember when Asugara chose to leave behind the guy, the family friend guy, the one who loved Ada, because she was just fed up, she was angry, she just didn't want to belong, and she knew that she had hurt Ada. But then on other moments, she's really protective, very kind. And then she's not actually a person you can entertain for a long time. We could see that from her sexual encounters. She would have this guy, they wouldn't just work out, she would go to the next and the next. So she's not somebody who just settles or who just doesn't get bored easily. She's one person who gets bored very easily. So then again, we have, she doesn't have an absolute, or I would say it's a relative point. It should be subjective or objective. That would depend with how you look at it. But then again, Asugara does have a very wicked humor. She's very harsh. She would be saying something, but then again, it wouldn't be nice, even if it was a joke or it was something.
Deo.
Yes?
Deo.
Yes? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Deo. I think he was trying to tell you that your time is already over for your review. You are given 8 minutes.
Or okay.
Maybe
Thank
give you 1 minute to wrap up.
Okay. Thank you, Suleiman. So basically, I chose to see this character into 3 aspects. And why would I choose that? I am a medical student, I'm a medical personnel. So I chose to look at it in a field that I can easily understand. You could easily pick why people think they have things in their bodies, spirits, or anything that isn't just them. But then when we speak about mental health, we have patients that present with exactly the same things. We have thought projections, we have poverty of thoughts, we have flight of ideas, we have withdrawal of thoughts. We have patients that feel that their thoughts are in their own, they speak for the third person. So I chose to look at this character in this novel in a sense that I could understand, in a sense that I would make sense of. So I chose mental health, I chose spiritual beliefs, and I chose to look at the writer in general. So I think it would be easier to look at it in a way that would help you understand, would help you make sense and reason to it. So I think I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deo.
Thank you.
So Hilda was supposed to do this, but she won't be doing it today. Instead, we're going to have, this is, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Kazura Seth.
Yes, next
Is
is Kazura Seth.
is here in here?
One day again.
I don't see his name in the Seth. Okay. While we wait for him or her, can we have Eunice Sylvester next? Eunice, are you in here? Eunice.
Not here.
Eunice is not
Okay.
here.
Okay, then. Those were our last two reviewers, and both of them are not here. That's very disappointing.
Sule,
Yes.
maybe if Deo can come back a little bit, I had a question for her, but my network was breaking.
I think she's still here. Dale, can you come back for the question?
Sure.
Deo,
Yeah.
how would you relate Ada to the modern day girl of today? Ada's experiences to the modern day girl of today. As a girl,
Okay.
as a lady,
Okay.
how do you relate with Ada's experiences in this book?
So Ada, I would describe her as a troubled child. So I would describe her in levels, but then again, she had so many troubles growing up. She had an absent father. Then she has a mother who moved away, kilometers away from her. So that would mean that this girl grew up without the guidance from a mother. You know, a woman, a girl, a lady, when you grow up, you just basically need your mother. They're just things you can discuss with your father. And then this father was very absent. So I would describe as a child, as a lady who had a very troubled childhood, and that just destroyed her. So she grew up, had all these sorts of issues and all that. So then we have so many modern girls or ladies that have that. And if any of us knows any one of those, please help them and then refer them to places that would offer them the needed care, the needed attention.
Have you seen an Ada in your life, probably in your home, in your university experiences, all around you?
You know, Ada is a complex entity, but then I have seen parts of Ada in different places. And then when you go to mental hospitals, you see so many others. So
what is your take on family, on the role of family in the role of family, our neighbors and our friends in the upbringing of women? We look at Ada being raped when she was a young girl. Was it in Itowan's house? Something like that. Then the neighbor. Then we also see is it the father of the neighbor also raping Ada when she was young? What does this talk about our modern day society? How can we protect the girl child? How do you trust your neighbor that probably let my girl go and play with the neighbor?
Okay. In our Tanzanian societies, we have this saying that says, my child is your child. So one's family child is your child. That's supposed to be a tradition. Yeah?
That was then. Is it still present today? It was the same this side and things have changed.
Yes, I was getting to that. So then we need to protect women. Women are an entity and are an entity that is faced with so many discrimination, inferiority complexes, domestic violence. We have so many things that surround a woman, but then she is the bringer of life again. She carries the babies, she takes care of the homes. So family is important in making sure that a girl child receives the care they deserve and grow to become an independent woman, a confident, independent woman who would know what they want and what they do not want. In saying that, when we counsel women, pregnant women, we always ask them to come with their husbands. Why do we ask them to come with their husbands? Because again, taking care of children isn't just a woman's role. It's a man in the family. It's described in the Bible that a man is the head. So a man is a protector. A man is a provider. A man is supposed to be the one you run to as a child or as a grown-up. You run to your father to be protected, to feel safe. While your mother is more of the heart, she keeps you together. She gives you the love. She gives you. A man does that, but then again, a man has the sole role of being a protector. So we ask and we train these people to take care of their families. We have 4 entities in the continuum of care for the families and the children, and one of these is family care. So we realize that a family is a very important entity in creating better people, better society. Everything that has to be better comes from the family. So in a nutshell, family is very important in reducing crime, in making peace, in everything. Because again, charity begins at home. So if it's bad manners, it will begin at home. An absent father, a mother who isn't around, this child will look for this care, will look for this protection from somebody else. And then when they go to somebody else, that is when we're just going to destroy this child, because somebody else might be a nice person or might be the devil incarnated. So it will be anything, but then again, family should be the first entity, should be the first thing that generates a better human, that builds and protects and takes care and gives love to these children.
Thank you, Deo.
Thank you, Dale, for that.
Doreen, are you still around as we wind down this second session?
Henry, we
Doreen?
only have 5 minutes left.
Yes, Doreen, are you around? I have a question for you. Andrew, are you around? Andrew or Doreen, who is around?
I see Doreen, but I think maybe she's far away from her device.
Doreen?
Oh, I'm here. Sorry, I
Oh.
had stepped up.
Andrew left. Doreen,
Yes, please.
in this book, we are seeing the impact of families on our lives.
Yes.
What is your take on working families and raising children, and on working families? The mother is working, the father is working, and its impact on raising children. And again,
yes.
How can we protect the girl child? Because we look at Ada was raped as a young girl, defiled, as a young girl by the neighbor. So how would we trust our neighbors with our children amidst everything? Because you cannot stay alone. You need people around you. So how sure are we that when my girl goes to visit a neighbor, she's safe? When a neighbor's son comes to visit my home, my girl is safe.
Okay, this is the thing. What I've got to learn about rape and sexual abuse has got to do a lot with the perpetrator than the victim. Yeah. It has everything to do actually with the perpetrator than the victim, because usually when someone says someone has been raped or someone has been sexually abused, people will be quick to say, what was she wearing? Why was she seated like that? You understand? Why did she seduce him? Yet we need to realize that it's not about the victim. They don't rape you because of your body or what you're wearing or what you've done. It's a power thing that comes especially with patriarchy. With patriarchy and generally power, men tend to think that they have rights and power over women's bodies. Like, you as a woman, you are not an independent entity, and do not submit to your own, but you have to submit to a man. You understand? And that your body belongs to a man who likes it. That is why we see that so many people actually sexually harass women. It's not because they're so horny, or because they are dying, or because the woman has done something. It's just about power, the need to feel powerful. So what I think, actually, yes, the gospel of girls protecting themselves has been preached way too much. Like, ever since I was a child, I'm now 23, they're telling me how to protect myself from men. You understand? Or the things of speaking out, do this, do that. I think it's high time, actually, we started having that conversation and tried to, clog out patriarchy and the need for men to feel powerful and to feel like they own women's bodies, and they feel like they should do anything they want to do with women's bodies without women's will and without even women knowing what is happening. That is in the case of younger children. You understand? Yeah. So I think, beyond obviously that you talking to your daughter or trying to protect them from anyone, maybe saying, "Oh, I'll keep my daughter in the house. I won't let the neighbors see him." What see her? What happens when the father comes back at night and you think, "Oh, my child is, safe with their dad," and their dad gets into their bed? I mean, we've seen that happen so many times. I think it's time to educate the male people. Yeah, start to make them understand that it is not their right, or it is not a good thing. It's time to punish. Yeah, to stop letting such people get away with abuse. Actually, something I have realized is, usually when a man sexually harasses a woman, very few times they actually are maybe punished for it. You just find that there'll be a negotiation, someone will be like, "Oh, let him pay some money," or if he made the person sick, or if they got pregnant, they'll be like, "Oh, let him pay for, take care of the child that we had." Yeah.
In the book, we see Ada having a lot of sexual encounters.
Yes.
What came in my mind was that most of them she didn't accept, but I don't see her condemning the thing in the book. Did you see it anywhere?
Condemning the what?
Condemning the acts in the book, because she was having a lot of sexual encounters. I didn't see the condemnation bringing it out in this book. Right from Soreen to Ewa to Luca, most of them,
okay,
she was like as if, because for her, she's taking the blame on the brother sisters. That's when they say she thinks she was the one, but it was us.
Okay, now this is the thing. Remember the third awakening and the final birth, of these, the brothers, sisters, and them identifying themselves instinctively and coming out to protect her, was when she was sexually abused by, what's his name? Her boyfriend, Soren, yeah? Remember? So, these spirits come in to protect her quite oftenly, actually, beyond looking at it spiritually. If you realize a person that becomes so promiscuous and so sexual, especially if it happens to men as well, it's just that it's not identified. But if you reach out and listen to these people that have been abused, yeah, or even abusers, sometimes it's not justified, but realize it comes from them being abused first. You understand? Yeah. So someone may not realize, they may condemn themselves and wonder, why am I sexual like this? But there's a trauma behind them that is actually pushing them. It is where they derive comfort. At first you may find that it's PTSD, they cannot be able to, I don't know how to explain it, but realize that even people that were, someone was violent with someone, realize that these people retaliate, yeah, and cope with it by being violent elsewhere. Sometimes it's a coping mechanism. It shouldn't be an excuse, but it happens. You understand? So maybe without looking at the spirituality of it, without looking at the spirits and all of those things, she was being sexual and all of that, maybe because of a coping mechanism, because she had been sexually harassed. Yeah. And then besides that, still when you go back to the sexuality, we realize, sorry, the spirituality, we realize that as Sugara comes out and talks about how, remember, we realize that first she's an insatiable spirit, yeah. She longs for things that are sexual, lustful, and sensual, yeah. That is the kind of spirit that she is. So she basically drives her to do all of these things. You understand? So sometimes beyond it being a coping mechanism, sometimes it's like a protection, because realize as Tugara does it to take power away from these people who sexually abuse her. She feels like, from men, she feels like a man abused me, so I have to go and do the same with other men out there. That is why we see that suddenly Ada Hats, what was his name? Ihotun, something like that. I've forgotten. The friend that he went to see in Georgia, yeah. So
Itohan.
he has sex. Yes, Itohan's brother. First of all, she loved Itohan, but then she goes ahead and has sex with Itohan's older brother, and then again has sex with Itohan's younger brother. You understand? And then he's also really cold to her and goes and tells her, you know what, I don't love you, because she is traumatized. She is hurt. Yeah, she is hurt, and in turn they're retaliating this hurt. You understand? So realize that oftentimes people that have been sexually abused will turn to the same, being so sexual, being promiscuous, and all of those things. It's sometimes a coping mechanism, actually.
Thank you, Doreen. You've been our best reviewer today.
Thank
Over to you,
you.
Suleiman.
Yeah, thank you, Doreen, for that. That was a really good breakdown of the story. Honestly, I have nothing much to add. I just feel like the author has brought up a lot of conversation and criticism on the story she chose and the character, the way she took her through the process of changing. You know how issues of sexuality and gender are very a gray area in the African community, and to just put that out in a very good book like that, and the way she wrote, the way the story went, it's very brave of her. And I guess although it's a very sensitive topic, it's important to start conversation in areas like that. And yeah, I guess that is somehow part of my take from the book. And
Sule,
without further ado, yes.
could we have like 2 reviewers from the audience to tell us their experiences?
uh
Or
we
we are
could,
time
but
back?
I feel like we're told that we have to until 6:30. So I don't want to get in trouble with Penny. And she texted we need to close to allow the next team to log in. So we could continue this discussion, I guess, in the WhatsApp group. Oh, Henry.
Oh, thank you everyone who has tuned in today. Oh, Kazora. In 2 minutes, tell us something. Kazora Seth is around.
Yes, thanks so much. It's unfortunate that I've been breaking off on and off because of the reasons you might not know. But maybe to give in my views, I was supposed to present, but I'm just going to give the very first in 1 or 2 minutes, like you said. From
Yes,
the story of the book, I think to understand that whatever happens in the physical world has a spiritual background, meaning that we shouldn't take things for granted, even the fact that spiritual rules the physical. When you look at the way Ada was suffering with sexuality, with being used here and there, and but you realize that the challenges were back from home, given the fact that he was sacrificed. He was a God-given son, but that God was a snake. It was an ancestral spirit, and given the fact that for what they put some picture in her body as she was being born, And the only way to cast out those demons or those spirits would be to cure the body itself, meaning at killing the person. So it gives me an insight that whatever happens in our life, we shouldn't take it for granted, but rather seek a higher divine intervention to be get the way moving. Otherwise, it will be a thing, and I regret not having it, but that is my submission for now. Thank you.
Kazora. Kazora. Seth.
Yes, please.
In the end, we see you are running away from Ada.
Yes, please.
So
Yeah.
do you think when men run away, do you think men run away from women, something is telling them that probably something is wrong here?
I don't really think so. But truth be told, there are some relationships we are in, and at one point they end in ways that we do not understand. There are people whom I have seen. Somebody has married five ladies. He has everything, and whichever lady or she proposes to ends in tears. You are a lady, and then you've slept with 100 men at your 20 years, meaning that there must be a problem. So when you try to trace the roots, I'm not saying that whichever happens, maybe a breakup or anything things go is necessarily spiritual, but at one point, you sit down and what's wrong, what's happening, what could have gone wrong. Then after finding the solution, then you can move on at a better pace. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Seth, for that review. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for turning up for this book review. We shall be telling you about our next book in time so that you can prepare. The district team needs to prepare for the next meeting, but you don't take your time for granted. Thank you. We can have more conversations on our WhatsApp group page.
Goodbye, everyone.
Okay, guys. Oh, guys, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you, Suleiman and Harry, for leading this through, and thank you, our international guests. We have Doreen Gutabenji and John, and we have an international guest from all the way from the district 9210. Rotary Club of Lusaka Tukuka, thank you so much for joining in. Rotarian Margaret Sifwembe Mumba, sis, thank you very much for joining us this evening for our session. And guys, we have this session, ROLI Book Review, every month. We shall keep you updated, and yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yay.
You, Henry. Thank you, team.